the first point is the financial statement. Do you have it?
No, so
Because we haven't received it since October 6th.
So we don't do interim billing. So I guess maybe I'll go back to the contract. So we do, the way we bill, it's not feasible for us to track down all the sub-trades for interim billing. So what we do is in Builder Trend, in your portal, you'll see a running total of change orders added plus your contract price. So that's the sort of the snapshot of where you're at. That's currently at 239,910. So that's a running total of change orders. So your cabinet, stuff that wasn't in original scope. So this is in your.
Can you give me the number, total number?
Yeah, it's in your it's in your portal. You have access to this at all times.
Yeah, but you know, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. So
I just need a snapshot.
That's what that is. So we don't do interim billing, and the reason we don't do that, and the reason in your contract it's laid out that way, is because with sub-trades, it's almost impossible to get them to submit billing when we want it.
Okay.
And so over the years, what we've done is
But when, for example, we asked specifically for the purpose of this meeting to have a snapshot of where we are, wasn't that possible at your end to provide
No,
that?
because you called me Wednesday and you've asked me to attend a meeting Friday.
No, we have been asking for a report for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so Vanessa's been kind enough to do that for you, but our contract's clear. We don't do interim billing.
She hasn't done it though. She hasn't.
Correct.
Yeah, we've been asking, but it
Yeah, so
hasn't
what
done.
she does then is she tries to track down the sub-trades and get them to submit interim billing. And they say, beat it, it's not part of my contract. I'll bill you at the end.
Okay.
Because that's the way it's structured. So in your contract, we're pretty clear.
So, yeah, so I think what it is, we know with the sub-trades, that when they have a contract, that contract's in there. If they're asked to do something else, then that's put in the pending change orders.
Yeah.
What we wanted to know, and what Vanessa said that she would do and had done in previously, and was promised to us. So we did expect it because it was promised to us on October 4th that she would give us the financials to date, so we could see where we were. So in specifically with the items that are time plus material, because those are the things that can get out of control, and we don't know. If we don't know exactly what's being billed to us at that time, we don't know where we are standing financially.
Right, so what we do, so that you have a close estimate, most of our stuff doesn't run over. So unless you specifically ask a trade, which your contract says you shouldn't be asking for work directly from trades, there shouldn't be any big surprises. So unless you guys have been talking to trades and ordering work outside of your contract, then there shouldn't be any big surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Some incidental stuff, I would imagine. It goes with all contracts of this size, but what we have is a running total, which is your change orders, plus your contract price.
Right.
And then any loose ends, if you've ordered work directly, which is why our contract says don't do that, because at the end, we expect that the running total plus your contract should be the finish.
Yeah, are you saying that because there has been work ordered?
I don't know. I don't know what you talk to the trades about. I don't know what gets ordered off-site. I don't.
We don't order directly to the trades.
Okay, great. So then there shouldn't be big surprises.
So do you have just a simple question? Do you know why Vanessa promised us a financial statement? Because that contradicts what you're just saying.
Well, I'm just trying to lay out the contract for you. So I don't know what you talked about with Vanessa. If she's been kind enough to call these trades in the evening and bother them when they're at home with their families and try and get billing out of them, because these guys are trades. This is why we do it. I'll explain. So they work here in off hours because we move their schedules around. Then they go home and they want to do their thing. So for them to start invoicing in term, we've never asked that of the trades. So if she's willing to do that for you, that's a nicety. That's not part of our...
And that's not what we're asking, Mike. So like I said, I think we know where we are at with the trades, and when we've... So what I would like to know is, like with the trades, so when we've been talking about items to be done, I'll just give one example here. So the roof, we asked for the roof to be done. But the last message I heard was, so the roof is not waterproof, right now. There's leaks in it.
Okay.
And so, but we paid for a waterproof roof.
Of course.
And so, but what I hear is that that they're coming up with a price for flashing to make the building waterproof. And so that's what I would like to know is what are we getting that we thought we were getting in the original price, and what might be additional items that are now being that are now going to be running to us, and that's what we want to know. And so it's not that we want every little billing item like to date going down here.
So our job as your contractor is to look at what was in the original contract. For instance, coping around those columns that were leaking, that was in the original contract. If that was an item that was left out and not remedied, and so then my job would be to go and argue with the trade to say, hey, this is original scope. If there's things outside the original scope that, and a leaking roof doesn't sound like it would be outside of scope, we've asked for a roof, then my job is to go and deal with the trade for you. So if there's talk about a price for roofing work that seems out of scope, that would be a conversation about, hey, that should be in the original scope. That's not a...
And I think I think those are some of the items that we'd like to talk about today.
Sure,
yeah. To make sure that we're getting it. So from what I understand you're saying is that you guys will come into that 1.65 that we talked about for the original work.
Yep.
And then the items, the other two additions that we added the 1.747 of additional work, and then 182 of additional work. So those are, you'll come in, all the work will come in price.
Relatively close. I can tell you I reviewed the...
Sure, minor variances aside.
Yeah, we're not gonna hit you with a big bill. And I'll tell you off the bat, we're ethical in our billing. So if there's something that came up where you did order work from the trades, and we expect that happens on something this size. So stuff like that, it's time material and it's a fair market rate. We're not gonna come in at flat rate and gouge you $700 to paint a wall.
Right.
But that's the only way to do this to keep it manageable. They're like herding cats. I don't know if you've ever dealt with subtrades.
Every day?
Okay. They're horrible for this stuff. So if Vanessa's willing to chase them down for interim bills, that's between you and her. What we do as a company though, and what our contract is about, is the running total and the contract. It keeps it simple. That way you can look at it. If you go into Builder Trend, you can see it at any one time where your change orders are at. I've gone through the deficiency list. There's a few items in there, like the boiler and that I think would probably come in billable, but what that looks like, I don't know.
What do you mean?
There was service, the boiler. Like I don't have boiler work. We didn't put that in our scope, but it looks like it hasn't been serviced in 15 years. It needs an oil and a service.
Yeah, but you didn't do that.
We haven't done that, no.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's obviously needs attention.
Yeah.
They've gone and looked at it. Nobody's done it in forever. So that would
But
be
that's servicing on existing
Right. And we would put a change order in for that.
Yeah.
Right,
And
so,
that we could track that.
yeah, and it would go into your running total once you accept the change order. So if you go into Builder Trend, there's a list of, I'm guessing on a job this size, there's probably already 30 or 40.
So this is where these are the change orders, but there's not a whole lot of change orders of items. So there is some, but no.
So the idea being that you have the opportunity to decline or accept. Like the PA system, I think is something in talks right now.
Yeah.
I've got some information for you. I can talk with you offline about how we can get it done that's the least disruptive. But something like that wasn't originally billed in the contract, it would get billed as a change order. You can accept or decline, and then it goes into your running total. So I don't, like what you're after, I think you're pretty close. I wouldn't say that there's going to be a big, I don't see anything in the deficiencies where I go, wow, these, they're asking us to do X, and that's going to be 60,000.
For my understanding, and let's talk very specific about an example, the downstairs bathroom.
Yep.
The placement of the door was wrong. The size of the door was wrong.
Do we want to?
No, just as a principle.
Okay.
So because that was due to a faulty direction given to trades.
Yeah.
Would that be billed as a Kaiman material when you go back and rectify?
It depends on who drew it. If it was your original designer, then it would be on you, and if it was something we did wrong, then it would be on us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, I mean, without the financials, it does make going forward a little bit more difficult, but we can keep going forward if it's okay. So, do you mind if I?
Sure, please.
Okay. So I just want to know what's left to do, and if that's going to be included in the financials that we have. Because we want to minimize the cost plus materials that are going to go over budget.
Okay.
So that was why we wanted to see the financials, because I wanted to make sure that it didn't go over budget with that. So what I would like to see is that the original work that we talked about, that, like you and I had quite a few initial walkthroughs that we first went through. We talked about would be included in that original quote. So we're not talking about the changes or the additions that we have, which would be understandable. But just at the original construction budget, that those items will be taken care of in that budget.
Okay.
So, like I said, so we talked about the roof, and we assured that we would have a waterproof roof, and it would be good for the next 30 years or so.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. But like I said,
now, on that topic though, what I'll say is, I think, given the condition of the building, I think, and I don't know how long you've been with NEC.
2 months.
Oh, okay. So prior to construction, it's difficult to see a lot of the stuff that's going on in this building. Like I don't have X-ray vision. So when we do our walkthroughs with Chris, we made a lot of assumptions because we have to in construction. The condition of the building was a lot worse than we had anticipated. So just to let you know, there's a lot of stuff we are taking on the chin, and it's not getting built. There's a lot of repair and a lot of stuff that we're catching as we go. That's like, wow. So that's going into our fixed price.
But you would let the project manager know when you discover some additional work that needs to be
there's
done.
I think 600 photos in there, and there's a lot of stuff that you're getting that's gratis. We're not charging for, just so that this isn't completely hostile. There's a lot of work that's getting done on this building because of the state it's in. Very, very neglected on the roof. There's a lot of stuff. Wood window trim hasn't been stained or sealed in, I'm guessing, since the building was built. So the rot and repair that's required we've had our issues with window guys, but everybody's like taking it on the chin with respect to exterior work here. Very, very poor condition. So you can't see that when you start a job. You can see a little bit of dry rot, you can see a little, but you can't see the actual state of stuff when we quote this. So I think if there's, anything with the roof, it's going to be remedied, and it's going to be complete because that's what we sold you. But as far as timing and sort of the mess on the way to get there, it's a lot worse than we thought.
And things like rot that's discovered.
Yeah.
Like especially if it's brought to my attention, we don't mind dealing with that. But when it comes to things like making the roof waterproof, and now they're talking about charging for extra flashing going around the pillars to come down to make it waterproof, that should have been part of that.
Yeah, agreed.
So I understand, like if it open up, and I think it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
That when they open up and there's rot, just like in the floor here, that we've gone ahead and said, well, we'll pay for that work. We don't expect that work to be done for free.
Yeah.
But the things that are originally that we talked about, that's what we're worried about.
Yeah, fundamentally, leak-proof roof is what you pay for, of course. They were not, and I think part of what happens, this is early, if I go back to our total completion date at the end of the year, I think because it's an occupied school, we're doing this a little off our typical process. We wouldn't typically do this walkthrough till a little later. A lot of this stuff's gonna get caught anyway. So like if I look at this list at 33 pages, we're down to 11. By the time we clear this list, and I could talk about paint because it seems to be the lion's share of this. deficiency list.
It's not the lion's share of our concerns, though.
No, it's the lion's share of the list. But what that tells me is that stuff to me it's minor stuff. But if I look at like the core of this, it's not that bad. Like what it's going to take to wrap this up isn't that significant. It looks like it because it's a construction site and we're all looking at all the warts and all the ugly stuff at the present. But this list isn't significant.
So it could be finalized in a shorter term that we anticipated?
If we can, let's, but if we can walk through some of our items of concern.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, I'm not going through all the deficiency lists because I think, like you said, some of those things are on there are minor. But so, like part of the financials that we were talking about and that are going to be time plus material concerns ballooning out of control are that room 105. We talked about that bay door being removed, the wall putting in, and it being painted so that it can be a usable room.
Okay.
So that was part of our original talk that we had going through the building. So I'm worried now that that the time plus material is gonna balloon out, and that's gonna be above and beyond what was in that original scope, which should have been included in that original scope.
So, as far as I understand, that bay door it's drywalled down, no?
It's what?
Is it drywalled down? Is the bay door still there?
The bay door is still there.
Oh, okay.
That room hasn't been touched.
Oh, okay. So, I don't know with all the shuffling what rooms got handled in what order, but to frame that door in and drywall, that's not a big job.
Okay.
And we got trim work happening on the outside, so that wouldn't be a big one for me.
Okay. So the window contract, removing and replacing the siding outside should have been part of that window contract. Like that window contract should have included all the necessary things to remove it and put it back in.
For the window, for trim, yeah.
For windows, yeah. So now with all the siding coming down, I'm worried that that's going to be time plus material that's added onto the contract, which should have been part of that window contract.
So reflash and trim is included in a window contract. That's standard.
Mm-hmm.
Residing a building isn't.
But when you did the window contract,
right.
What was necessary
to put the windows in?
To put the windows in should have been part of that contract.
Which is flashing and trim.
Yeah. So, but now they're removing all the siding to come down to put the windows in.
Right. So if that siding is of the condition that it can go back in, there's no charge for that. That's part of the contract.
Okay.
If it's rotten and it can't go back in and they can't get a nail through it,
mm-hmm.
which I think is some of the case, then that rot has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there is rot, I haven't seen pictures of it. It's old, but it's not rotten.
Okay.
So if the structure underneath is rotten, I get it. There are some areas like that that have problems.
Yeah.
But, so the new bathroom downstairs. So, and we'll talk about HVAC a little bit, but so we added heat so that the building can have heat through the HVAC system, through the HVAC system. So that bathroom downstairs, like it's very cold down there.
Okay.
There's no heat. They just talked about adding exhaust, but there's no heat, there's no fresh air. And right now there's still no exhaust, but they keep ensuring that exhaust will go in, so I believe that. Okay. But I am worried about, so not only the bathroom, but there are other areas that just have no heat and have no vent near them. So so part of the, when we were talking about this, part of it was, should we just remove the boiler and just go completely on this? And I'm glad we didn't, because there are big areas like this room here. There's no vent close to it at all, and there's no plan to put a vent close in there at all. And they refer to the heat study, which was just for cooling. So there was no heat study based off of for warmth. And so there are a number of areas that now they need special attention because they're not getting enough, like the lower or outside rooms are a very cold spot, and there's no direct heat going to them right now. And so
well, we knew some of the, just based on an existing building, some of them would require electric heat. There was discussion around a few areas that would require additional baseboard heat.
Yeah, I think that was before we talked about putting in the HVAC heat, right? Because because when we were talking about cooling, but then we talked about cold areas that were existing, and maybe hitting those with electric.
Yeah, that was my last discussion.
Yeah.
So I mean, the system's gonna work. The guys have been contracted to make it work, so we'll go through it and figure it out. I mean, it's not. I anticipated some space heaters being required just because you can't cross beams without, ugly ducting, and in an existing building that's pretty common, is that we would put a space heater in the occasional spot. I wouldn't heat the building with it.
Right.
If we have a cold office, I think maybe Tammy's office in the corner was on electric heat.
It's on the boiler, yeah.
Oh, is that okay? So
yeah, I think that there's an electric heat adjuster in there, but I don't think it's run. I don't think it's
okay. Yeah. So I mean, we'll address it. We've got these guys have total completion for December 31st. So I have to go back to the contract and say, we had a specific. There is still work to be done, and before we jump the gun on these guys, we had a big push to get you September 5th classrooms.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, these guys were given trade contracts for total at December 31st and final at January 31st.
Okay.
So, and the reason I bring that up is because, without being a messy construction site,
mm-hmm.
when we wrap in 3 weeks, which by the way is 2 months early, when we wrap in 3 weeks with what I see here and the lion's share of it, then I don't think it's unreasonable that these guys have to come back and do some work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know what happens with the system until we put it in. They may think, okay, I got a 4-inch vent here, it's going to hit this room and we're going to be okay. And we might go,
mm-hmm.
it's not good enough, we got to do something. Maybe we put a Y in it and have to run another duct.
Mm-hmm. And the concern with that, doing that so later down the road, is the other areas that might be affected by or painting of those vents, like.
I have drywallers and painters. So.
Yeah, but is that now then going to be an additional cost?
No. If HVAC isn't functional, then that's part of our.
Okay.
Okay. So if we don't have heat in a room, then we'll remedy.
Mm-hmm.
We're not coming back for extras on fundamental core system issues.
Okay.
If you tell me that you can't get it to 30 degrees and that's not,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you that's unreasonable and
mm-hmm.
that's billable.
Mm-hmm.
But the system will be functional and it'll be comfortable, and I told you we'd have 20 degrees across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I can't offer you 20 across the board precisely, as we said in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You might get 22 and 18 because you're working in an existing building.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it, when they do these heat loss studies, there is loss in a pipe when it has to run further than the others. So that room's closer to this heat source, it's going to be hotter. That's the reality of a retrofit system like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be within a working range.
Mm-hmm.
I live with my wife, she's always cold. If it's 18 and I'm at 22, I'm probably not going to tear apart the walls and say we have to, someone's going to have to live a little colder.
Yeah, no, we understand that.
Yeah,
That's
but
okay.
but as far as if I got a 16-degree room or 15-degree room
Yeah.
and 22 over here, then we'll remedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more of, this is an outside corner room. The closest vent is 50 feet away. That's too far
Yeah.
to service that room. Like that should be.
Yeah, and depending on how the heat flows as well, because you have ambient heat from the floor below. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into these heat studies that we have to account for. Sometimes we get the rooms up and running and figure it out, and you go, wow, it's actually comfortable.
Right. And that heat loss study, though, that was done when we were doing cold. I don't think there was a heat loss study when heat was at.
Well, they didn't have an engineer do it, but the HVAC guys did do one.
They did do one.
They did do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get the results of that heat loss study?
Well, they just did their calculations based on square footage and that. I don't think they brought an engineer in to say what's required here and there, because they can't, without taking this building apart, retrofit systems get done a little differently.
Okay.
So, given you have to bring into effect the aesthetic as well, we didn't want to run pipes in certain places. There's a few parts of that equation that come into play, right?
Okay.
So if we have to find a different way to dump that pipe than to get air over here, then we'll remedy that. That's not billable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just going back to to the bathroom then downstairs that
Okay.
we were talking about. There were, so like she was saying, there were some items that were wrong, that weren't done properly. So the door swing was wrong.
Okay.
The electrical was put on the wrong side. There was no slope going towards the drains. There's an area.
But I don't think we repoured that floor.
You did.
Like a new slab?
Yeah, it was totally torn up by,
I thought we trenched that room.
yeah, trenched it, but you trenched in the areas where the drains were. Those drains were put in new and then it was poured. Almost that whole floor was exposed when you guys did the bathroom.
Okay. So
Because there was a number of new bathroom, of pipes that had to go in, so.
if existing concrete stays, that's our grade, right? So short of taking the entire floor out, they have to merge into existing floor levels, right?
But it was out, and it could have been sloped when it was poured. It should have been sloped down to the vents, but the vents were, the drains, but the drains were put in even with the floor level, and then there was no slope going to it. And so then post-construction, that's when money came back in and grinded it out, and then the bathroom guy came in or the plumbing guy had to come in and re-lower the drains. And then not only that, there's that other area where the floor just has never set. It's still wet.
Okay.
For the touch. And Money thought, that's your flooring guy, thought he says the reason is because there's a leak underneath. That's why it won't dry. So it's just that one area. You can see it. So all those little areas are mistakes that have caused a big delay, like in the bathroom. Like the bathroom should have been part of that September 5th release date.
Is this the bathroom that had to be added because the plumbing run didn't make it?
Yeah.
Okay, so in fairness to the team, that wasn't part of original scope. It was a maybe if the plumbing didn't make grade. Right?
Sorry, no, the plumbing always had to be done. The plumbing was.
But our plumber originally had said, I don't know if I can make grade at that other washroom, because the other washroom wasn't originally part of the reno. And if we have to dig over there to lower that to make grade, then I may have to dig up that floor. Is that the one we're talking about?
So the original plan was to dig out the bathroom, the new bathroom, which had to be completely redone.
The new one at the back.
Yeah,
correct.
At the back.
Yeah.
And then there had to be a trench dug down the hallway and through the classroom and going towards the street.
Agreed. Yeah, but then what I'm saying is originally we were going to leave that other bathroom intact, assuming we could make grade, and then when they dug it out.
No other bathroom was dug up.
Oh, I thought the one on the south. Is that not the one with the wet spot?
No, it's the new bathroom.
Oh, okay.
The new bathroom is the one with the wet spot.
Okay, so
not only that, but the door is put in the wrong spot. It should be in the middle of the mirrors, and it's too close to the wall, so when it opens up, it blocks people that would be walking from the bathroom to the mirrors.
Okay.
So there's a number of areas there that's another one that we would like to see done in the contract. But to me, that it looks like there's a lot of problems that were with that room that need to be remedied, and it looks like the costs could start ballooning quite bad out of that room.
So I guess I'd have to go back and look at the drawings for that door and see what was drawn, because that would be my first look: is what did we work off of, and then if that door is in the wrong spot, then we'll move it. With respect to the flooring, I think we've had a moisture test done, and the plumber's pretty confident that it's not a leak.
Okay.
Because it's
So what would be why isn't it?
Well, you don't have an insulated slab here. So this building was built in, what did we say it was built in? Like 81 or something?
The rest of the floor was put on a non-insulated slab. It doesn't have that wet spot, right?
Yeah, but we don't know because there's no insulation. So if it's wicking, if it's new concrete, if it's pulling moisture, I don't know. But it's a non-insulated slab. So more likely than a leak is it's moisture that's wicking up. So, you know, I guess maybe do we chip it, if it's a cosmetic only, do we leave it or do we chip it up and demolish that floor and re-pour it and insulate it? I mean, I don't know.
Was the humidity test done?
I saw notes about it, but I don't know if, I know Money's on WCB, he's hurt his back, but I don't know if the plumber and the guy came out for the moisture test yet.
I haven't seen, because I'm upstairs, I haven't been there, but I haven't heard.
I saw the request was put in, so I don't know, we'll find out. But
we would, if that happened, we would like a copy to go to this.
Yeah.
They all go into builder trim. But I would want to look at, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a, whether it would cure over time, I don't know. Sometimes with uninstalled.
So I think you should come down and take a look at it.
I've seen 100 photos of it.
But you got to go down and touch it. It's wet to the touch. This is something that's 2 months old already, and it's still wet to the touch.
Okay, so let me dig it up.
Yeah, yeah. It's a problem. And this is the floor that you guys report, so it's not an existing floor that it's sitting on.
Okay.
So, so that's part of the issues. There are some other little issues that we won't get into. But so I'm just going back on the HVAC, the plan for the HVAC layout. You know, I never saw a plan for the HVAC layout. You know, I would like to see a plan for the HVAC layout. He also promised that we would that you know before there be any trades movements or decision on trades or materials that we would be sent the information to sign off on. And so there were a number of things that, and HVAC is one of them, that we just didn't know. We didn't know the plan, the layout, any of that. We're just told to trust us that it'll get done.
So you can't really lay it out that way in an existing building. There's just too much stuff in the way. So there's stuff that if he was to work off the plans, this building has had, you know, sprinkler moves. The plans aren't consistent. There's also an illegal addition to this building that doesn't show in the plan. So what would he have for drawings to work off of wouldn't be consistent with what's there. So we call this a retrofit. This is a system he has to work as he goes. So to get a formal diagram drawn out of what's been done isn't really feasible with a retrofit system.
Okay. So on our walkthroughs too, we talked about that spirit room. Remember that room in the middle there? Mm-hmm. That had that big loud fan that was humming away?
I don't remember a fan.
So it's a exhaust fan that's down in the boiler room, and we go in the spirit room, sit in there, and it's vibrating. It's the loud humming.
Is that the one that says needs service?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked about that being part of that original thing, that one thing that has to be done.
I don't. Again, there's conversations we can have about stuff, but for me to just say there's a noise in the building and I'm going to take care of it, I think more likely the conversation, I'd have to go back to my notes, but more likely the conversation was we'll look into what it is. What it turns out is it's a boiler and service equipment that hasn't been serviced in a couple decades. It needs a service.
Well, it's not the boiler, it's the exhaust fan.
Okay.
And it wasn't something that we generally went over. So this was a specific point that is a real irritant for NEC. And I made a point every time we came in that this has to be dealt with. So that there was two things that I.
So are you suggesting we buy the fan?
Well, I'm just wondering why is that not, like if that was part of every time we came to the building we talked about it. Right. Why is that not part of that? Why was that not part of that contract?
We got to figure out what it is first. I mean, you know, it's not charity work. We're here to, you know.
No, I understand that.
So, for me to say walk through a meeting and go, oh, I hear a noise, no problem, I'll take care of that. I have no idea what that is. So I think maybe there is some misunderstanding in what becomes billable and what's included in scope. So. From that perspective, you've got a noise, we don't know what it is. It's now turns out, I mean, you can look at it like you've managed to escape 15 or 20 years of maintenance on it. It's due for replacement. Had it been serviced over the time that it should have been?
Mike, that doesn't matter. But we did know what it was. We went down, we looked at, you and I both looked at it together. you saw what.
I've never been in the boiler room with you to go over that, so that's not true. What I can tell you is that I don't even recall a conversation about a noisy fan in there.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
So room 11 and 112, 116, so the bottom ones that are down there. So clearing out that old mechanical stuff that's left down there, the frame, drywall, and paint, what's left. I just want to make sure that that's part of that, the contract, that because we paid for the finishing of the rooms, and we paid for the removal of the old system. So I just want to make sure that we're not continually being charged for time plus materials on finishing those areas.
This is which room is this?
The two corner rooms. So they're the ones that have, they're the ones that have the big duct work going out, exhausting out.
Okay.
To the outside areas.
And that's where the IT guy was sitting for a while? Is that the other corner? This is downstairs, right?
Yeah, sort of the IT guy.
Or the building manager was sitting before?
Yes, the building manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can skim those walls and give it a paint.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the clearing out. Like, so it's already agreed to. It's just nothing's been happening.
Cleared out with respect to what?
So the old mechanical boxes that are there. So they've agreed to take them out. It's just that I want to make sure that that's in the contract that we paid for, not.
Okay, I'll have to look into it.
So the downstairs, the 4 classrooms down there was glass that went across.
Yeah.
And so they suggested that instead of glass, they go MDF board across there. I just want to make sure that the painting of that, so that's done. I just want to make sure that it's left there right now.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that the painting of that is included as well. Is that included?
Probably not if it was material added, because he would have quoted that job without that in place.
Okay. So, the question that I would have then is, so that there was the glass that was supposed to be replaced. So the cost for that glass then, can that be applied to the
I don't think we were, in the original scope, I don't think we were replacing that glass.
Not supposed to replace it. This was a solution that Vanessa wanted to do instead of replacing the glass.
Right, okay, so I'll have to look into that's not, I didn't have it in my scope to replace it or change it or do anything with it. So,
right.
So when that happened, then typically that would be time material.
Okay.
What the cost of that is probably pretty minimal. I wouldn't suspect that a couple sheets of MDF is all that much, but paint's cheap. I don't think that that's something that I would, dig my heels in on time material for the few bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be looking at the bigger items that I can hold guys to their contract on.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess what I'm just saying is that the cost of replacing those windows, the windows that were damaged, that would be, so that was going to be part of your guys's, but that would be applied then to the.
Okay, probably, yeah, we can look at something like that.
Yeah.
I would, part of these things is that if we start nickel and diming the trades, unlike the same way you don't want to have it on your end, if we start hammering these guys for stuff that's over and over their contract, then when they do get something that's extra, then they're not as friendly with it, right? I think we probably want to keep it. We're talking about nickels and dimes on painting some MDF board.
I just want to make sure that it is going to be painted in the scope, and if it is going to be charged, I want to know where and why.
Yeah. So, if there's going to be a charge that's of any significance, it's going to be a change order. If it's a time material and it wasn't there when the painter quoted it, then in fairness to him.
Yeah, but so time plus material is things that we can't see and we don't see, and what you're saying right now is that we won't see it until the very end, and then all of a sudden, bam! I don't want to be surprised with there's $300,000 extra time plus materials. Like there has to be some kind of notification way that we can see it. And
there is, and that's why I say the significant ones are in builder trend under change orders running total.
Yeah.
The other stuff is pretty small. It's not big stuff. Like when I tell you that might be $300 to paint those, or $200,
mm-hmm.
right? If we're looking at a almost $2 million contract, and the painter comes in with $2,500 in in extras.
Mhm.
Was Vanessa's suggestion to replace the glass with the panels captured in a change order?
I didn't look through that one. 'cause
It's not in the change order, no, yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
So, the lobby area, that's incomplete there, so,
Yeah.
weatherproof doors, fixing of the holes that were drilled in,
Yeah.
there, gaps around, certain fixtures. So this isn't supposed to be a meeting area, that dignitaries are supposed to come into.
Okay.
That we could all be proud of, and,
Sure.
and like this, is it this Thursday?
It's Thursday, Minister of Finance.
So this Thursday,
Legislation.
we have a number of dignitaries from the province coming in here
Okay.
to meet, because they wanna look at the product and see what the $2 million went to.
Sure. Okay.
And so that's the area that all these meetings were happening, and so that was expressed that we want this area to be nice.
Right.
And it is a sad area for us right now.
Okay.
And not only that, it feels like it's incomplete. And when I went through last week or a week and a half, and I talked about areas that are still outstanding, it was either no, that's not part of the contract, or written down, okay, that'll be 4 days to complete, or something like that. And so I got the feeling that it was going to be extra time plus material added on to us.
Okay.
So I guess I'm not understanding why that room wasn't given more care and included more in that original price that we talked about, because that, for sure, you have to remember that was an area that we
Yeah. So
thought
those
being important.
So we don't typically bring in for millwork repair until it's all ready to go. So those holes that I told you that I would fix, we'll send a guy in for that. We have to make dowels out of fur and stain it. It's a bit of a process. So when the site's ready for that, they'll send a guy in to hit everything. And we can't be sending guys back and forth and back and forth. It doesn't make sense. Again, not to harp on the contract, but we still have, on my end, we still have time. If you had told me, we'd have.
Sure, for those little things, for me, it's more of, is that included in the 1.65?
Well, the holes I said I would fix,
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a look right now. So if you can see some of the stuff that bothers me about this job, if you can see the paint, it looks like someone painted this building with a mop. It's the worst paint job I've ever seen. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. If you look at that wall plate right there, they didn't even take the covers off the electrical when they painted. Okay?
Yeah.
It's gotta be one of the worst paint jobs I've ever seen in the history
I
of paint
agree.
jobs.
It's
Okay.
pretty bad.
We all
Okay.
agree on that.
We all
Yeah.
agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then if you look up in the top right-hand corner there, that peach primer from the previous was done in oil base, which is incorrect.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's on the fur,
Mhm.
which has also got a top coat on it. So in fairness to the painter, his work doesn't really shine. He does $10 million Shaughnessy homes for me. He does beautiful work.
Yeah.
And he's getting, one of the things I think we have to do is maybe let up on him a little bit, because he's getting the brunt of 25 years of shitty work previous.
But we didn't even talk about that. Like that, I keep bringing up the paint.
Well, he calls me all the time saying I can't do this, I can't do that. He's upset about his work here because he feels like he's getting he's not finishing well because of the underlying work. And I think that when I look at the quality of the atrium or the front room, I think there's a lot of stuff in there I think is in finished quality that isn't something we can remedy. I mean, that to me, fixing those holes is one thing, but I look at the finished quality of, I'm not happy with a lot of it either, but it's because there's some stuff we just can't remedy.
Oh, so either one, like he came out and so I asked him about some of the paint marks around the fixtures here.
Yeah.
And he came and pointed out that was previous work, and that was the end of the conversation. I said, okay, you're right, fine, I agree. That's not part of yours.
Yeah.
We moved on. There was like,
that's not the impression I get, and I'll tell you.
I understand that there's crappy work that had been done beforehand, and we're not expecting him to refinish that work.
Well, I'll tell you, these are like managing kids, right? So just so you understand the tone of the job, he doesn't feel good about how he's being treated I guess somebody paraded some cleaners in here to clean up his work while he was here. So, you know, it's a bit of a slap in the face for a guy that's trying to do a good job. And then there's some discussion. So he calls me and he wants to vent about, listen, the quality of the work underlying is making my work look bad, and I don't think I'm getting, you know, people aren't smiling to see me when they see me. It's, you know, he's getting a bad feeling about his work quality. If I look around this building, I mean, I don't feel good about that either. You know, like when I first talked to you about the job, I said, you know, maybe we need to come in and sandblast the place. Like, it wasn't in the budget. I think if I was allowed to spend what I needed to spend here to have you guys finish where the atrium was your showpiece, I'd need another $400,000 or $500,000. That's a very different project for me to come out looking like the way I want to look on that project. But timeline and budget, we also have to be fair to the guys, because you know, he calls me.
I'm just talking about the work that is done. Let's not talk about what would need to be done. I think we're going off on a.
Well, I got 11 pages though of stuff that seems to be.
Well, we can talk about it.
Okay.
If there's an issue and you think it's not, if you think it's relying on the other work, we can talk about it and
Okay.
and come up with a solution. That's not a problem. But having said that, I didn't want to get into this yet, but we'll talk about that. Part of that when we walked through was I wanted that to be addressed, and part of the contract is cleaning up the old paint, because I knew that there was a disaster here, but we wanted to make sure that this was cleaned up, and that was never put into that contract, and that's why that's causing some additional problems, because now I don't know what's his, like I can tell with the peach, but there are some areas that are white that he says it's not his, and I say
I can assure you they're not his. I can guarantee you.
And anyways,
yeah.
Just having said that, I you know, it should have been put in there that to clean up all the old paint, and that way it wouldn't have been an issue if there was paint splatters anywhere, because that would have been part of the contract.
Yeah, it wasn't in the budget or the timeline. So the other thing is what it would have done.
So maybe it was a bad communication going on there, but.
Well, no, we discussed I would have to sandblast. There's a top
We didn't discuss talking it, but you, when we talked about it, you said, yeah, we'll take care of that. That's what the conversation was, not that you.
I can take care of the stuff I can take care of, but though, like, I don't, look at this roller mark, like, you know what I mean?
I understand it's bad. That's why we wanted it dealt with.
But it's oil based.
Yeah.
And it can't come off without a major.
Well, no, so that's not true, because the painter actually came in and he cleaned up one room that was it was the worst place in the whole building.
Okay.
But he came in with chemicals and he rubbed it out, and he got it looking really good.
Right.
But understandably, he said he wasn't going to do that for the rest of the building, and now he doesn't want to even entertain doing it, cleaning it up for the rest of the building.
So I think someone has to have a heart to heart with him, because they walk cleaners through on his work, and I think that, like, from our perspective, you know, this job's a big push. It's not a small amount of work in the period of time.
Yeah.
And I think that the tone's getting a little off. You know, it's not being well received, and I think part of what you have to do with people, just my opinion, but part of it is they have to feel good about what they're doing, and that's not what I'm getting here. What I'm seeing in notes back to Vanessa and to me is a lot of push, and the work's shitty, and hurry up and hurry. Like, it's gotten.
May I interject here? I don't think that Chris, in principle, should be coordinating the painters. Isn't that the job of your project manager?
Well, the project manager is coordinating the painters. What's happening is a lot of, I mean, like I said, if I go through this list, we're getting to a lot of that stuff. And that's a lot of stuff that shows up on here, and I understand what you want it to look like. I get that. I want new construction finish here as well. I think everybody would be happiest with that. That might be a conversation for another round after we get wrapped up, and it can be done room by room, and there's, you know, maybe somebody sits down and actually goes through the actual labor required to do it. Because short of sand, I would have stripped everything. But like I said, it wasn't in the budget, and it's an existing building. It would have been a major mess. You know, and what I told you was, those columns with the stains, can we approach the idea of painting them? Because they might look cool in white, and everybody said, don't touch the wood.
Column with the stains, and I don't know which.
At the entrance, there's some stains. There's a bunch of, like, Tammy's office has some stains down it. And
You're talking about water stains.
water stains.
Yeah.
Throughout the building, there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
That can't be fixed. That's in the wood fairly deep.
Yeah.
That has to be plastered.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that right now.
No, but I'm saying that was part and parcel of the conversation about paint, but we can get to that in the list, but I think I need to be clear on the fact, and I think that's why the painter's upset, is that he feels like he's taking a beating for existing work. That's not a simple fix. Right?
If that's his feeling. That's not what I'm directing. So I can't be responsible for his feelings.
Well, you asked him to go through a TSP and clean up one room, and that became the benchmark.
No, I didn't ask him to do that. So what I was asking Vanessa is to clean up the existing paint.
Okay, well,
that's on there.
My apologies. I'm seeing all the notes about him arguing about what paint is previous and what's not, but we'll
so that is a legitimate thing about what actually is his and what actually is the old paint, which is a tough argument. If the peach is easy to see, the white is not so easy.
Because it's old primer is what he's saying, but anyway, the point being is that I think 75-80% of this list is paint related. So
I think let's move on, because that wasn't even the main point of that one.
Okay.
So all the flashing. So we're still talking about what would be included in that.
Mm-hmm.
All the flashing on the roof, making it watertight for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that was part of the contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Replacing all the damaged or now missing glass. So there was glass that was either removed or that was damaged. So we want to make sure that that's part of that. That's covered in the contract.
Okay, damage would for sure be covered.
Yeah.
If it was removed and changed, I'd have to look at why that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it was just removed. So that ends that part. So if we can move on to number 3. So we're talking about the deadline for completion of items.
Okay.
So we want to know the lobby and the HVAC, because it's getting cold. There's no heat.
Right.
And so turning the heat on, getting heat in the building is becoming a concern for us.
Yep.
So we wanted to know when that HVAC unit can be placed on the roof so that we can get heat in that area.
Okay.
So do you have an idea on any of those for us?
I would suspect relatively quick. I'll find out what's going on with that.
Okay. And then the rest of the building, I know they were waiting on BC Hydro.
Okay.
So I don't know where BC Hydro is or where they're at, but the rest of the building, so that the atrium is based off the gas-fired unit that would be on the roof.
Okay.
These ones are based off of an electrical.
Okay.
So that would be BC Hydro.
Yeah.
And so, but both, right now we're working off of that old boiler system, but a lot of those boiler
ducts
were disconnected.
Yeah. So I think that's, if I remember the notes correctly, I think that they're waiting on the power upgrade.
Yeah.
So Mike.
This part,
yeah. Yeah, and then it also feeds that electrical side as well. I think the two are intermingled.
Oh, it feeds the unit?
Yeah. I think you have 2 runs. I think Darcy's waiting on Mike, so I'll find out though.
Okay. So the new bathroom, when can that be completed? And I think maybe you need to go down and take a peek at that.
So it can't be completed today because of the floor. So
can't be, no.
So clearly that's not an issue that is going to get addressed in the next week.
Right.
If we have to dig up the floor, I mean, we can mess around moisture testing it and screwing around. If the reality is that the concrete's not curing and it's wet, then we'll chip it out, poly it, insulate it, and re-pour it. I mean, there could be underground water. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There's I can't see through the concrete, so I don't know what's going on there.
Right.
Moisture testing it from the top if it's physically.
Either we don't know what's going on either.
I have the bathroom.
We just want the solution.
The toilets are on site. The dividers are. I got the dividers myself, so they're all done.
Yeah, everything's on site.
It's ready to go.
It's just that the floor is not done, so nothing can be moved on. But I'm not seeing any movement on that bathroom. That bathroom's kind of stayed in the same state for about a month.
Well, they've been waiting on that money guy to come back, and he's hurt himself. So I think probably better than. I mean, to change flooring, guys, I'd hate to have it not match. Leave it with me. I'll think about what a quick remedy will be if we're gonna chip it out, because that's gotta be re-epoxied after.
Okay. Rooms, there's like the classroom here did they clear it out?
They cleared that one,
But not that one.
but it's still the rod
Yeah.
underneath the window, and this is not cleared.
Okay, so there's still some rooms down here, so, just like when can we get those rooms back? Just looking for a date on getting those back. And then when they are, sorry, I'll just finish my notes so that I can, if they can be inspected by the project manager, by Chris. So, by Chris Williams, like I trust his eye and I think, like when we walked through with him, he saw the same things that I did.
Okay.
And I think his experience and understanding is what's needed, but he's rarely here, even though
Well, that's
he's
not
on
true.
the job.
No, but he's here periodically through the day. What we've done, because of the sheer amount of small stuff, is we put 2 working PMs on here. So there's 2 guys on the tools full time. If Chris is here, it's to mediate and work with the trades on larger items.
Right.
I can bring him back for that stuff,
Yeah.
but there's just so much stuff, and Harm and Palmer are skilled.
No,
workers.
I do get the little stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
why
I would
they're-
expect them to be, but too, like, when a room is ready to be like handed over to us,
Yeah.
if Chris can be the one
Yeah, that's fine.
that inspects it.
Yep.
And expects so I think part of the frustration is that, we've been asked to sign off on rooms, and I go in there and there's just a crap load of deficiencies. And I don't think that there has been the project manager on site is not experienced enough to error correct or quality correct the things that the trades have been doing. That I think if Chris was on site and directing them, that they would have been caught and there wouldn't have even been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of little stuff, paint and stuff, and I think that
It is. There's
it's wasted time for Chris. I wouldn't.
It's
yeah.
a lot of but every time we come back, there's a lot of little stuff.
Right.
And so, like as owners, like I'm representing an owner.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't have to come and point out every little thing, every couple days for your trades to keep coming back and working on that. Like this should have been picked up by the project manager. Should have seen these deficiencies and should have corrected them without me having to get involved in it. But when you keep coming to me and asking me to sign off on things, and there's still a ton load of deficiencies,
Right.
it's not right. Like a project manager should be coming in, making sure that the room's good, and then handing over. Then I should be able to come in and say, yeah, this room looks good, or oh, there's a little thing here or there.
Right.
But there's just so many big things that are.
Well, I beg to differ. I'm seeing all the paint stuff, so I will agree to disagree on that. I think that as far as handing the rooms over.
If you are referring that there is a lot of paint referrals, this is not the comprehensive and complete walkthrough. So there are more deficiencies that are not listed here, as Chris was mentioning.
Yeah, we don't do multiple walkthroughs. So if it's going to be filed as warranty because you've occupied the building, so we're very clear on our contract. The way we do it is we do a walkthrough. You have an opportunity to tell us what you want fixed. Nobody said no to anything to put on your list. In fact, Chris added a second list to Vanessa's list. They merged the 2. So there's nobody saying no to any of the deficiencies. But the reality is they have to go on before we hand the space back. We have to draw a line in the sand so that when your kids are moving stuff in, as they've done, and they damage the walls, then that comes back as an extra. Because if we have to come back in and fix everything after you've moved in and after kids have been, in class for 3 weeks drawing on the walls, we'll never get out of here. So that's why we do a final walkthrough. There's warranty on all of our work. So if there's something that you said is filed under warranty, that's different. But what we're talking about is paint touch-ups and deficiencies, and we're doing that as we hand rooms back. And I think that's why I don't think it's a quality of the project manager. I think it's just it's a difference of opinion on what, like, do I fix that roller mark or do I see green tape around? is that my responsibility? And that's why they're handing it back going, well, clearly we're not doing that.
That's not it, and that's, I think you're picking spots that are not part of it.
But Chris, I'm looking at 11 pages of paint.
You haven't even been here to walk through with me for the longest time.
I just need to read the list.
No, you don't. That doesn't tell the whole picture. You need to be here and see it for yourself. You're saying that it's not valid without even walking around with me and seeing it. That's an issue. When Chris came around and saw some of these things, he would say, yes, this is an issue. Like, he sees it, he gets it. But that's why I'm saying, him not being here the whole time, or the inconsistency of you starting with me and then not starting
Well, that's
with
not
me.
my role. I'm a sales guy, so that's not my role. I don't project manage. But having done this for enough years, what I can tell you is the obvious is that there's 200 line items here and 167 of them are paint. That's the reality. So sorry to harp on the paint, but the paint is the elephant in the room here. The paint is horrible and we're not finishing well because we're having to go back on that side. So when we hand back a room, if I look at 27 items and 22 of them are paint, that's not as bad as you think on a handover. I'm not even discussing paint. So Okay.
let's stop talking about paint. I feel like it's a waste of time talking about
All
paint.
right. There's nothing else to discuss. The rest of the handovers have been fine. There's nothing significant on those deficiency lists.
So if I can keep going through
Sure.
here, thank you. So the other one is addressing the cold areas. Like, so we'd like a timeline when those cold
Yeah, we
areas.
discussed
will be
that already.
addressed.
Yeah. Okay.
So the fourth area was errors in details of the subtrades. So the new bathroom drains not slope, the door placement, the heat exhaust, as discussed earlier. Drywall mud not being properly directed or quality controlled. And I would say because there was no PM dealing with them about that. Not properly feathered, poor, incomplete work, or they splattered stuff all around the new carpet, on the new carpet. So they had to return many times because there was areas that they kept on being missed. Just little fills, like holes that were not
But you
filled.
didn't want to talk about paint, so we won't.
I'm talking about drywall.
It's the same
right
thing.
now.
It's the same thing.
So wrong windows signed off by Troico, design not brought to us to sign off on, which was promised, causing delays, not settling the payment issues, dispute, or replying to the window contractor's emails, causing many delays as well.
That's quite significant,
Yeah.
one might think.
Sure.
New wires being placed in visible areas. So that was a big part of us, is when we did the walkthrough, making sure that there was no visible wires that were going to be in there. But we have new wires being put in place that we can now see. So the HVAC wires that are now being exposed everywhere, the T-bar wires that are going up to the roof, instead of putting in a beam that they can be attached to that we couldn't see, now they're going up to the roof where everybody can see them.
Right.
So hiding things like this was expressed during our walkthroughs that we went through.
Yeah.
And again, the HVAC unit plan, so you talked to us about that being something that has to just be done as they go.
Right.
So that's okay. So part of our conversation that we had is how airflow, to keep airflow in the building, so having airflow going on.
Yeah.
So, but I still don't know how airflow is maintained when cooling or heating is being turned off in that room. Also, there was the venting that was first cut into the soundproofing glass that was it either, and it ended up being in the wrong location, or was the wrong location for the vents coming in to the glass, which now is, the idea is to put them in the doors, which would have been the right thing to do in the first place. But we have a bunch of, so these errors with the glass and the holes being cut into it,
Yeah.
has caused delays.
Okay, there's no delays. We have 2 months to finish. So what are we talking about delays?
Well, it would have been an item that was waiting, so it's caught.
But I have 2 more months to finish this job, so I'm not exactly sure why we're talking about delays yet.
And so, Mike, Because we want to work as we go. So September 5th was supposed to be the handover for the classrooms, right?
Right.
And then we were supposed to do weekend and evenings afterwards to complete the leftover items, right?
Never discussed like that. What I said was, and very clearly, we would get you, and we worked our asses off to get you September 5th, as much as we could get done. Now, in the midst of that, then you threw in that you're gonna leave a bunch of shit in the rooms. So there was not 2 rooms, like you told me, 5 rooms full of stuff, completely, okay, not acceptable. So my damages, if you wanna talk about damages, are I have now split trade work across 3 small projects, not 1 big one. I was supposed to have a vacant space to come in, and then my guys can all hit it. They don't have carpet to deal with, all the stuff you're complaining about now, you did to yourself. Because if you're moving stuff around rooms, it's convenient for you, you didn't have to move them out, that's great. But now I got trades dealing with occupied rooms. That wasn't part of our original discussion. When you brought it to me, I said, fine, we'll work around your stuff, trying to be accommodating. But if we're gonna come back to that, and then later say, well, they slopped some drywall mud. These are trades that are used to working on builder board, vacant spaces. It's almost impossible to be using mud on a hawk and not drop some mud. That's just the reality of what you get in a vacant space, or in an occupied space. It's water-based, it cleans up, it's not the end of the world. I wouldn't even bring it up. They're gonna hit it with a rag, it's not worth discussing. The idea that the timeline is delayed in certain rooms is because we've shuffled stuff around. And we still have till December 31st for full completion, so we're not talking delays yet. I'll have this list done in 3 weeks. We'll be about 5.5 weeks ahead of schedule on a $2 million job. I think everybody should be congratulating us, but we're catching shit over it. There's no delays yet.
Behind you, there is a classroom.
Okay.
That was not done in September, it's not even done now.
We weren't asked to do those ones. We were told to get the bottom 4 classrooms had to be done for September 5th. They got my entire company's labor, everything that was required, we got done for that. And as soon as that was done for the handover, then we moved on to the other items. So the contract was very clear on December 31st, and that's when I talked to you, I said, if I'm doing this job, it's a big lift. I'm not gonna have HVAC done, I'm not gonna have windows done. There's stuff, but we will get you habitable in those bottom classrooms so life can continue here. And that was our timeline. We still managed to do it even with rooms having stuff in them, because that was convenient for you guys. So we worked around it. So now I got all my trades complaining. This room wasn't ready. You know what a drywaller wants to do and a painter wants to do is they want to come in and they want to do the whole floor. They want to do all of it. And now we said, okay, come back, make special trips and come back and do it once we get the kids to move this stuff out.
On that note, room 105, which is the corner where the toilets are.
Yeah.
We cleared that 4 times in the past 2 months.
Okay.
Because Vanessa said, clear it, we'll go in to do the drywall is the printer, and the 105 is the garage door.
Oh yeah, okay.
So we cleared that, everything,
Yeah.
4 times. It's not even done now. Last week on Tuesday, she said, clear it because we'll work. It's nothing done. Nobody came.
Well, but I think the problem is that we're having to shuffle. We're adapting to what we can do, and then if a guy calls in sick, or like, there's a lot of, we're still on schedule, right? Even despite all the other stuff we're dealing with, I think everybody needs to just take a step back and say, like, what are we really talking about here? Because I think the tone is getting to a place where it shouldn't. We've moved mountains here. I'll tell you, I spent, because we were 2 weeks late on the millwork sign off, I had to go with my 3 kids 3 nights till 1 in the morning and cut cabinets. You could find me a company that will give you custom cabinets signed off on a Friday and deliver them 2 Fridays. Unheard of. Like, we moved mountains and people lost time from their families, and everybody did what they had to do to get things done as best we could. We're not late, not even close. We're gonna finish deficiencies. Now don't forget, we had a final sign off at December 31st and deficiency clearing to January 31st. We're gonna be clearing deficiencies by the end of this month, easily. HVAC will be up, we'll be working on some other issues. Obviously, this will go another couple months, but I think we have to set the tone where people wanna come back and work here, they feel good about what they've done. You know, I see the notes in Builder Trend, and it's not, we're nitpicking a lot of little stuff and we're not done yet. And I think maybe we get this thing finished, push it across the finish line. There's, you know, when I send a framer in to do something and you guys look at it and it's messy and shitty and everybody goes, oh, it's and then I send the guys in there and it's drywalled and painted and you go, oh, that's nice. Then it's nice to not have soiled the whole relationship because we shit on it back then, right? So what I'm saying is I think we should finish. I don't think we should beat this to death. I think we should finish this list. There's 3 weeks worth of work. I'll look at that spot with you, figure out that bathroom's got to get dealt with quickly. I need cure time if I'm going to re-pour the slab. So I think we should look at that. That's the only one in this list that I think requires any major attention. Everything else is going to be minor. And then in 3 weeks, we're going to finish this deficiency list, signed off, complete, and we'll move you to warranty. So I understand in your itinerary you're talking about not a final list. All clients will go the same way. They panic about, if I don't put it on now, it's never going to get dealt with. We've done $2 million worth of work with you. We're not going to leave here and not take care of you. So the feeling, I think, of us just dropping our tools and leaving isn't how this works. We're here for another 6 months after,
Yeah,
probably.
it's not that, Mike. I think what it was I'm unsure financially where we're at, and I don't want the costs to balloon out of control. I never got the feeling that you guys were going to drop and leave, but I want to know that the contract, what we signed, what's involved in that, and what's the payment in that, and then I understand that the stuff in the rooms and the change orders and those things are going to cause delay. And you know, I understand that it was not just the 4 classrooms, but that it was the classrooms were the majority of the stuff that was, and wasn't just downstairs, it was classrooms throughout.
Yeah.
And so where those things were, and where we had our stuff in, I understand that those were going to be delayed. For sure, that's going to be part of the issues, and those are going to be part of the delays.
Yeah.
So, but what I want to know now is that we're continuing to work on these issues that are left here. And so I understand that there are issues, but I would like to see that some of these issues are going to be addressed.
Well, I mean,
in a timely manner. So like the bathroom downstairs,
sure.
or like the 2 offices that have been down there, that like we've been asking for those to be a priority. To be done, like as the next thing.
Since I printed this, there's like 16 items have been cleared. And some of it were, you know, we get into like, we're complaining about the old wires hanging, but we were still using those cameras till we switch over the system. That's now been remedied by Ray. So that's why I'm saying, I think sometimes, you know, you need to take a step back and just take a look at the collective.
Yeah, but we didn't want to generate this deficiency list. This came from you guys. To do it. I didn't want to go and start a deficiency list.
But that's the process in contracting. It happens.
Yeah, but you're blaming us for having all these little things on the deficiency list.
No, I'm not blaming it.
But it's nothing that we requested. We didn't request this.
No.
If it's your guys' process, great. But then don't blame us for it.
Well, I don't know that anybody's blaming you. I'm telling that you think that we generated this list on our own? Like you did a walkthrough with Vanessa.
You required us to put this list together.
It's part of the contract. Yeah, that's contracting 101.
But then don't complain that it's there, is what I'm saying.
Who's complaining?
It sounded like you were complaining that there's a bunch of these little things on this list.
I think the paint is completely out of line, 100%, and I think it's 90% of this list. That's what, it's not a complaint, that's just a statement of fact. It's completely out of line. But we're gonna do as much as we can of that paint, of those 160 line items. We're gonna catch as much of those as we can, and it is what it is. But once that's cleared, and like I said, there's 3 weeks, since I printed this, we've got probably 15 or 20 of these items cleared. So this list will be gobbled up in 3 weeks. It'll be done. Everybody will look at it and go, okay, acceptable, and some stuff we're happier with than others. I mean, there's some stuff we're not gonna be tickled with. If we wanna take a look at that at the end and we keep everybody happy, maybe there's some stuff we can say, hey, this is a boardroom, this really needs some TLC. We'd like to strip these and do this after. But you know, to be brought in based on delays, we're not delayed. Despite all the moving of stuff, we are not delayed. Yeah. We have a contract for December 31st.
I understand that part of it. So, but like the things that we are talking about are like the bathroom downstairs,
sure.
Which is a big delay. So
but it's not a delay.
Mike.
It's not a delay. I have till December 31st, Chris.
Yes, but that was part of the thing that we wanted done by September 5th.
No, it wasn't.
That was one of the ones that the kids are supposed to use in the classrooms
It was
downstairs.
not ever part of the September 5th. We were asked to get those bottom classrooms ready. That was what we were asked to do, which we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I wish we would have written it all down in details now, so.
So let's see what we can do from now.
Yeah.
In
Three
the,
weeks.
for
But
the
I don't
next
think the
3
plan-
weeks, and you know, let's finalize this in the best way we can.
For sure, yeah. So there's a list here that's very manageable. We're gonna finish up this list, then we can hand over most spaces. The bathroom's gonna be a problem. So if we're pouring that slab, and the reality is it's not, find another washroom because that's gonna have to get tore out.
Yeah. So,
I think we're trying to put lipstick on a pig if we're trying to fix that.
And can we
spot.
have Chris more present in the building?
Yeah, he comes for the major stuff. Like I said.
Because I haven't seen him.
Okay, well he's
After the walkthrough, I have
Chris
not
works
seen him.
Chris works at 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it hasn't
And
fit.
I'm here at 7:15.
Okay, so when he's here with the trades, if you would like, I will have him come up and you can walk with him, if that's required.
No, it's Chris and Chris.
Okay, Chris isn't here when my Chris is here. So Chris starts early and finishes late, and it hasn't been the schedule here that works with his schedule. That's why Harmon Parr both in here. There's been 2 guys here. So for deficiency clearing, the little stuff, you know, we're not going to bring in Chris to do stuff like that. That's well below his pay grade. But for the stuff like the HVAC and the bathroom and the stuff that needs significant experience, then Chris will come in for those. And if you guys want to be here with him, then I'm more than happy to make him come up and grab somebody if somebody's here. He has done numerous meetings with HVAC and drywall and paint and stuff like that already, where he hasn't come up and got Chris or got somebody. So if you go on Builder Trend, he is present when required. Harmon Palm are doing the bulk of the lift because it's just medial work. It's not, okay? The list will get wrapped up in the next 3 weeks, okay? The bathroom will be dealt with concurrent. So we'll run that at the same time. I'll dig into that now and I'll figure out what our plan is to fix that because money's not going to be back for probably a week or so.
if I could just finish off this the list. So just like, so the other things are like the wireless PA system. I would have liked it to be brought to us and shown the product before the purchasing of it, or
nobody's purchased it.
Or Vanessa gave me an invoice of the purchase.
And I told her to refund it no charge. So I have a system that runs Cat 6 through the network if you guys want to look at it. If you don't, then we'll leave it and you guys can deal with it on your own.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in my scope, so we're happy to refund it no charge.
And I'm not, like, did you guys refund that already? Because what I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't need charge.
No, what I'm saying is, did you return that already? Because I'm not here to make things more difficult. Like, if we can make that system work and you guys don't have to pay for the restocking fee, let's try to make that work.
Yeah, I'm not, listen, I don't want to bill you for stuff that you shouldn't be billed for, so we're happy to return it. And then I have a solution that runs over the network that's super slick, that doesn't require any drilling into the walls or anything like that runs over the network. That's an option. I think the other system that they had picked was probably a little late in the game for. So I went to Staub and I found something for them with Ray. There's an option for that. You can look at it, evaluate it, go see it, and then decide what you want to do. But yeah.
Okay, and then just talking about there was 2 missing doors so we had to reorder them. So I'm just talking about the list of things that I think that were error that I'm wondering if we're going to be charged for them. So there's also 2 alarms that were cut. This one and the far one there, and so we had to get Telus back in to repair the alarms. So that was a cost to us. And then the last thing that we talked about it many times, is just the project manager overseeing the quality of the work. I'm just following my points. I know we talked about this, but I just want to make sure that I hit that. Yeah. And I think that that's hurt the kind of the flow of the project, not having somebody like on Chris's level here to kind of oversee the work. I think it could have eased a lot of this tension that's going on, and would have kept us out of kind of this part of the process, which is causing part of the tension.
And to alleviate some of that tension, you guys need to understand also that once the city came in and once we were given noise complaints about times and hours, we've now shuffled. So I have guys on off hours. We're working, it was never part of my agreement after sign off to change our shifts. I can't work Chris into that schedule. It's just not, I can't. He'll quit. So he won't change his hours. So it is what it is. And he's senior enough that I let him do his thing.
Right.
But I'll get him when I need him. And we had to call an audible. So once the city came in and the noise complaint started, we've had to change what we've
That
done.
was pretty late in the game though, that, like.
It wasn't that late again, it was 3 months ago.
It was not 2 months ago.
I dealt with the city inspector, so that was.
But the initial one in the noise complaints?
The only one.
There was only one, yeah.
There was only one.
Okay, so I would guess probably a couple months ago, but.
It wasn't like when.
No, it was about 5 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Okay, so regardless, Chris has been here when needed. I don't think that the quality of work, what he does as a project manager is talks to the HVAC guys, for instance, and then they do their thing, they're professionals. Same thing with the painters and the drywallers and everybody else. If a trade needs to be started, a project manager is gonna say, do that one. And they're gonna do what professionally they know how to do. So I don't think the quality of work's suffering.
Well, except for the project manager would then go and see the work that was being done or
Yeah,
what needs to be done, say, no, this is, it's gotta be done this way, and it would have just happened so much quicker and more seamlessly
Maybe.
without there being all this back and forth going on. And I think that back and forth is what's causing some of the tension.
I have to dip into a Teams meeting, but
Yeah.
I do have to say,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful event Thursday. Media is going to be here,
Oh,
the
okay.
mayor, Minister of Finance.
Okay, maybe we'll drop in.
And they'll be excited to meet Troico
Okay.
in your wonderful work.
Thank you.
We'll be sure to let all of them know, because province wants to know where taxpayers' money is going,
Yeah,
and the chiefs, and they got a lot of influence.
excellent.
And I've read all about you guys online.
It's good to meet you.
Lots to read
Thank you.
about you guys. I'm sure you read about yourself.
I try not to.
Oh, you should. It would help you reset a bit, Mike,
Thanks.
because you should be proud of your work.
Thank you.
I think you really
Well, we'll
should.
get it done. You'll be happy again. We'll get this thing finished.
Well, it'll be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So those are the points that I had.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to do a quick
Yeah,
walk? Because
if we could just-
I
just-
got like
yeah.
5 minutes and then.
Yeah.
Okay, if we only have 5 minutes in, let's. So Mike, I don't know if the temperature has come down enough that we can talk about other things as we're making our way back here.
Yeah.
But like part of that, part of the thing, like when we look at the floor,
Sorry.
when we look at the floor, like even though we talked about a solution and stuff, like this is not, it's not a good quality job on the floor. And yeah, I don't even know where a solution can come after this, but it is a big visible part of the project when they look at the floor, and there's lots of little areas or lines or differences in colors or shades around the edges or those kind of things like that. But
Well, what I can do, I can bring a flooring guy in and see it's a matte finish. Matte's awful for that.
Yeah.
Right, so the color selected is going to show. It's going to show footprints, right? That's the
Yeah.
problem with matte.
I get. Yeah, well, I think part of that's the dust too, but the footprints is one thing showing up. But another thing is like the finish overall. And so it's just
I mean,
it's
I think
throughout the building when they
you
come
can't
in.
throw us under the bus on everything. Like, it is a aggregate floor. Like, you got to remember when you started.
But this was an aggregate. Aggregate started over there, but
This was aggregate from here, wasn't it?
no, it started from that hallway on.
And this was aggregate.
This was an aggregate. No. This was I can't remember what kind of floor.
I'll have to look at the photos, but I mean, you're topping an existing 30-year-old floor, right? So everything that's underneath, this is 3 mil thick. Like on a matte finish, it's not going to hide everything, right? Like as far as like the finish quality, if we want to re-top coat it, I can look into what that's going to look like, but maybe you need to pick a different color.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it, and I don't want to spend all the time here. If you have to go, like on certain things, but there are a few different things that I would like to talk about, but I don't see how we can get a solution on this floor, because I think the only solution is to redo the whole thing. And if it was, like, if the problem is that it's an old floor, then I think there need to be maybe a discussion about what kind of cost needs to be increased to put another layer on it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we might be able to get you credit for what we've done and look at flooding it and putting down a brand new floor.
Right.
Or some sort of surface,
Right.
like a vinyl or something that is
Right.
more consistent with the institution. And there's a
Right.
reason they use it. It's
Yes.
high wear,
Yeah.
right? So, we can chalk it up to, a poor decision on the floor. It's not gonna, looking at it now, I can see sort of what I might expect from a matte finish, right? In hindsight, maybe we would have been better advised to just do a vinyl laydown floor.
Right. And yeah, I mean, the matte finish is one thing. The differences in the colors and stuff like that is something else. But like you said,
Okay.
it might have been a better idea. Either
Might not have been the best decision. For
yeah,
sure.
to have an expense where you're laying down like some kind of waterproof layer first.
Well, they flood it.
And
That's the option.
and
is they
then
flood it.
and then put another layer. And they were when money came in with his product supplier.
Yeah.
He was saying that that's probably what had to be done to make the floor the way it should be. Okay. Anyways, let's move on here. So I can send you the picture of the layout for the door, but the door was supposed to be in the middle here,
Okay.
so that when it opens
So,
up.
is there something in the way, maybe?
I'm not sure. I know that the electrician put this here. I can't remember the full conversation of why he put this here. But then originally, they had the door swing going this way with the electrician here.
Okay.
But even still, so you can see when they removed the door, they actually did move it over or widen it. So now there is this exposed part of the floor down here.
Yeah, we gotta deal with this anyway,
So-
so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and so this is the one that wasn't sloped properly, and so that money came in and he ground it down, and then the plumber lowered the drain, and then he filled it in, and I can live with this. It's not great, but I can live with it
Right.
like this. But that when they put in all the new bathrooms, they did tear up this whole floor here, and then they came out.
So I gotta look at the photos. Was this
Yeah.
trenched or was this gutted?
There was significant. It wasn't completely gutted,
Okay,
but
so-
there were significant areas that were opened up because all these were put in, including the drains.
So there's
And-
a few things in that, is that they can't go underneath certain areas when we can't chip out that slab completely. 'Cause
Yes.
This is slab on grade.
Right. No, I understand.
So-
Yeah, and
so-
it's okay not to chip it out completely.
Well, no, but that explains the slope.
But
You're-
no, but this area was chipped out. So when they re-poured this, they could have re-poured it with the slope in there.
But then you probably got this that stayed up. I'll look at the photos. Once I see the trenching, I can see what
Mhm.
happened. But
And even if this was left, that should have been chipped out so that they could have had
Well,
the
they
slope.
can't get too close, right?
Because yeah, but they got close enough. Like even if they started the original one here, it would have been done beforehand, and we wouldn't have had this. But this is, like you can see, it's on your hand. Like this is a 2-month-old floor, and it's still not dry.
okay. That's weird.
Yeah, the money's solution was, or thought was, that it was that there was a leaking pipe underneath, and that's stopping
No, I
it
felt
from
that.
setting.
That's in the topping.
And,
So it's,
and I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know.
Nobody knows, yeah.
But like I would like a solution to
yeah,
it.
yeah. So what we're gonna do then, we're just gonna chip this out.
Mhm.
We'll chip it out and we'll get under there and take a look. And then what we can do is poly it and then we'll patch pour it, because we're gonna be doing some topping in here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll chip this out, we'll bag the underside of it,
Mm-hmm.
insulate it, and we can hand mix and pour it on site. It needs a couple weeks to cure, a week, or probably a week,
Yeah.
before any toppings can go over it. So
Yeah.
I'll find out what the minimum set time is. We'll check with the manufacturer on some fast set. Then we'll re-pour that, trowel it, and then I can address that. And then we can put this back together. The floor itself, I don't know, we're gonna have to. I mean, if we're redoing this floor, do you wanna do something different in here?
What do you mean, like?
Well, if you're
put
not
a
happy
different-
with this floor, and we gotta,
Oh, yeah.
and I gotta do enough patching, and I got
Right.
this shit to deal with, do we wanna just redo this bathroom floor
Like,
for now?
put a different, like, flooring topping on there?
Yeah.
Like, what would you recommend?
Well, if it was me, I might suggest we just tile it.
Okay,
I can find out what the difference in price would have been, and then I'll try and get you squared up on that so that everybody feels like it was a win.
okay,
And then we just lay tile in here.
okay. Maybe that's a good idea.
So then they could probably patch this. Now, if this is moving, what we do is we'll run the tile out to the front face. If this has to move over, it's gonna fix this problem here. We'll shift over, and then we'll just tile into the threshold here.
Yeah, the tiling will definitely fix the.
Cover it, yeah.
The coverage,
Yeah, yeah, so that's, so then we,
And
then
then
everything
you-
in here is the way you
Yeah,
want.
and then you can put the threshold.
So what I can do, yeah, so then we can, yeah, I think probably that's the best bet, is just chip that up. Okay, so we can I'll get them on that right away. We'll get that chipped up, and we'll look at what's underneath there. I don't think it's a leaking pipe.
Yeah, I mean, I have no clue. So, I mean, I've
It's
worked
in the
construction and I've never seen that.
No, neither
So I
have I.
don't,
But
I
it's
just
in
don't
the
know.
topping, like the topping's not curing.
Yeah,
So what it could be is just condensation from that pipe. So if there's a temperature differential, sometimes you know how pipes sweat.
yeah.
It might just be wicking enough into there that it's, like it's not a leak or.
But it's weird that it's these two sides.
Yeah, but it
and
kinda
like,
makes sense.
It's like not in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where the water's running, I guess, but that's the only thing that is logical, because my plumber told me, like, guaranteed it's not leaking,
Mm-hmm.
100%, but if it's,
Well, if it was leaking, it would, for me, it would have to be a water pipe.
a supply line, exactly, yeah. So I think maybe that there's just, maybe it's just sweating or condensation, because it's clearly around a pipe, that's probably our culprit.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll chip it out, bag it, and then it's fine on the other side, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weird. And then we'll open that wall while we're at it and see what's in there.
Yeah, because that, I think it, from there, right, it goes out this way,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
or it goes out, must come out this way.
Yeah, something like that. I remember that. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. You'd think it would be wet over there. Okay, so that's probably what I'll look at, and then I'll just find out what the differential and tile the flooring is.
Okay.
We'll pick a gray tile, and what I can probably do too is, if I use a tile backsplash, I can probably hide this bulge and get rid of that,
Okay.
because that's kind of ugly. Okay. All right.
And if you have just one more minute,
Yeah.
you could take a look at that. Do you have time to do a full walkthrough or
Not
not?
today, no.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be, no, not really.
So I don't want to hit on the flooring again, but, because it's, yeah, but it just, this area was, part of that, the concern of, and now I know that, the contract given to the painter was the paint interior, but not this room.
Yeah.
But, this room does have that staining that's
So
on the
they-
side
this,
there. And I don't even know if this can be,
So they got the holes already. Okay.
yeah.
What we can do, yeah, I can just bring some perfect brown and we'll touch it up.
And, yeah, like if it can be made to, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to go all the way up.
Maybe
but if it-
before Thursday, what I'll do is I'll get them to touch up the bottom where it's warm.
Yeah,
There's a couple little spots on the ladder they can grab. It'll blend a bit better.
right.
Okay.
And lastly was about, so just weatherproofing these doors. So,
Yeah, so I think they got
because
something that
I
works for
think,
us.
yeah, I think Vanessa's got us a few prices on replacing these, but I think it would have been 32,000 or something. It was
Yeah.
ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
So
cars.
I think for right now, they just want to make sure that there's no air getting in.
Yeah, so what they're gonna do, they're gonna plunge router a track in, and then they're gonna push in weather strip in. It's a bit of a process, but they'll make it work.
And just so you know that this actually is metal covered with wood planking, so it's not a solid wood door.
Okay, so then.
So I didn't know that myself, but he pointed it out down here. You can you can see the metal of the door.
So they'll find some. We'll have to do some self tapping into there and do a screw on flash. Okay. There's a carrier. I'll look at the profiles and figure out what's gonna work.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Chris. We'll find something in brown that'll look. Okay. Well, let me, like I said, the list is ongoing, so let me get the bathroom started, because I want to get that insulated done and then get the thin set in right away.
Yeah.
And then I'll get some samples for tile.
Okay. And Mike, I just want you to know that I don't want to be hostile to you or Vanessa or your company.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything like that. I just want to make sure that there's constant attention and process going towards issues that come up.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I understand that December 31st is the final due date.
Right.
But when there are issues come up or things that are left, then it becomes more of a concern.
I think what everybody has to do though is just, we're not done yet. Let us finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let us finish, because I'm not going to leave my name on a shitty job, right? And if there's stuff that we have to argue about at the end, which there always is, it's $200 worth of work, give or take, right? So there's going to be stuff that we're going to say, and we'll probably say, okay, well, we'll give you this, and you pay for that. Like, we're reasonable people.
Right.
We're not going to hit you with a big bunch of extras.
Yeah.
We're not going to make you look bad, but let us finish, because what that does is those meetings, you know, it's. I'm not trying to be on the defensive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Chris, like, you just got to go through painter. The guy is pissed off. He doesn't want to work here anymore. Like, he doesn't feel good about his work.
Well, no, I got that.
Yeah.
I got that part of it. And when I was asked to go through and point out the little areas in each room, there is a little bit of paint here or there, which I don't want to make an issue. I'd rather him go with your project manager and do all those little details, and then I can come in at the end and say this or this or the other thing. And I don't want to be a part of that, but I'm asked to be a part of that when I'm asked to do that to do that list.
And my point is that I think that the handovers are going the way they're going because a lot of the little shit. So my point is, it's not. They're leaving stuff where they go, that's existing, I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'll talk to him and figure out, you know, like, there's stuff that he's like, it's just not reasonable. I got to set up the scaffold, I got to do this, or there's, you know, he's talking to me about like what's required to make this look the way he wants it to look.
Right.
It's a big lift. It's not, you know, this stuff here I can touch up and stain and we'll make it look consistent, but there's other areas where I go like, it's not that easy, right?
And like, let's talk about it. I can be reasonable. Like, if it's an area that is an existing problem, like I know there's a lot of issues with the walls that are previous work. Sorry, go ahead. And you know, when it's pointed out to me, and I agree with it. Like I've done that. Like I've done that with him on a number of little areas where, and I think me dealing with these little things is what's causing some of the problems. I don't want to be the one dealing with these little things.
Let us finish this list, because the other thing that you're not maybe understanding from their perspective, and I think that sometimes is they feel like they have more time, and
for the little things they do, yeah.
Yeah, but the consensus on site is that they're late and hurry up and you got to get out of there. And a lot of them are like, you know, like the drywallers and stuff like, well, yeah, maybe do it in separate projects. I'm getting negative from them as well. So I'm just saying, if I was to, and I'm taking a step back and looking at both sides, and I understand you guys want to get things done. You want to wrap up, and they're saying I've got more time. So let us finish this list. I'll deal with the bathroom, right? HVAC is dependent on hydro, and as soon as that happens, that'll go quick. With respect to the windows, we've had problems with that on timeline. And I think Vanessa was trying to explain to you, like, that's our role.
For sure, and the problems around that was he kept showing me emails that he was sending that didn't get
We
replies.
ignore him until he gets his schedule. Like he's on ignore
Right,
until he gets his shit done.
But like once Vanessa did come out and talk with the guy enough, he did get back on the project.
Because we had to hold the feet to his fire and say we're bringing someone else in. Like he's been a nightmare, and I'll tell you, Vanessa had to go. We wanted to make sure he had the windows. We were worried about your guys'
Yeah, for sure.
right?
That
so,
is
so what I'm saying is on that front, so that it doesn't sour the whole thing, is our only play is hold back. That's the only way we can get these guys to jump. And so there's a consistent. With this guy, there's a consistent miss on everything he said he would do. You were supposed to have these, and you were supposed to have that. When he sent me the sign up for the windows, they were wrong. He didn't bring photos. He brought me a list, which I signed off personally, and I didn't miss. I checked. But the mullions and all that were wrong because he didn't send a. Normally, when we get a window list, he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Is it per our meeting? If you're good," because he's like, "I got to work today. You guys are right." You're not going to make your timeline. I said, okay, as long as you've got it from the meeting. And we stood out there and we had a meeting with him on the mullions. And I said, as long as you're good, then I'll sign off and you can order. And that's not what he did. So, you know, we forced him to remedy, and that's because he made a mistake. The same thing with his timeline. The guy has missed dramatically on that, and until Vanessa started holding back funds on him, we wouldn't get any movement on him. So as far as that goes, we're not trying to beat him up, and I know he's here whining and complaining about money. That's what's making him move. So don't get in the middle of that, because
Well,
that
I don't
really
want
is,
to, but
and you
he
don't.
keeps emailing me like every day.
Put him on ignore, like everybody else does. He emails everybody and say, listen, you got a contract with Troico.
Yeah.
Honor your contract and get this windows in, and leave me alone. We hired them for a reason. And I think that's what happens is they get somebody that'll listen, and then they just, he's probably the only problem on this side. Everybody else has been good. So leave that with Vanessa. She's been dealing with him. She's viewed the windows. She's seen them. So we're not that stressed out about does he have the product. We were worried about that. But.
Where's the description?
Upstairs to the left.
Upstairs?
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll put a note in we'll get some touch-ups done on the stain. I'll get Feroz out, who's our color match guy. I'll send him out with some browns, and we'll figure out how we make that look good. And I'll start on the washroom, and then the rest just let us finish that.
Okay.
Okay?
And so just one more thing is,
Yeah.
so there are a couple things that then I'm worried if I leave it too long and then things are finished off, it becomes more difficult to finish.
Okay.
So like, just quickly pointing out, that's the MDF board that was put up there now, that we need painted white. But things like, and maybe there's a better example of, this area, but the wires that are hanging down and whatnot, if we drywall that off and finish that off without tucking those wires up and hiding them, then it becomes a bigger deal. If I don't say, hey, we got to hide those wires before we finish off this area, and they're left hanging down, it becomes a bigger deal. And so there's areas that are like upstairs where you can see wires hanging down, and if I would have jumped on it a little bit sooner and say, hey, can you guys put that on top of the pipe and run it?
We can look at the wire.
Then they would have had enough slack to do it.
Yeah.
Now there are some areas where there's not enough slack, but they already ran a crap load of wires, so it's going to be, we have to have a different solution now to hide those wires rather than.
I don't know. Brown's probably not me, but he might be able to tuck those up. There's ways to move that up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the plan was there. They're drywalling that, or are they just painting it?
What's that?
What's happening up there?
What do you mean? Oh, like here? No, I meant like drywalling that opening closed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because it was cut open to put.
Well, they'll just tuck it all
through.
up, and then they'll put it on the top of the pipe. We can put a 24-inch band around it and tuck it up. Yeah, they're not going to leave it.
Yeah, no, but I'm like, so there are areas like that where the pipe, where the wires are hanging down more.
Okay.
But like if I don't talk about it now, then there might not be enough slack, or they might cover it up before. Like if we tuck it up now, then it's much easier solution than if we wait till it's drywalled and filled in.
I'll get. I'll just put a big asterisk note in there for Chris that on drywall start to make sure all the wires are hidden. He knows he wouldn't start them.
Sorry, Chris, you said?
Williams, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I have,
He is
I have,
coming in.
I have great confidence in Chris Williams. I just,
He's in twice or 3 times. Like he's stopping interviewing these guys. He's not checking it. You guys need to see him.
no, I don't need to see him, but I just want to make sure that he is on the, like that he feels the pulse of the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so this is that area here, so that this bulkhead would be taken out. So that this is the plan, that it's taken out, that will be framed and drywalled in, that this covering will be removed, and that will be painted white, and this will be painted white so that it hides in.
Okay.
But we just want it.
Yeah, if that was part of their scope, then they'll pull it.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, we just want them to start doing this so that we can get office people in this room.
All right.
So.
Yeah, we're gonna be making a mess down here anyway, so I probably do this concurrent with that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing that you want to combine it because it's drywall work. You want to make with all the other drywall work so that the guy doesn't keep coming in. I understand that's a pain in the ass to keep coming in.
We have a guy that does small stuff for us, so what Vanessa's probably got organized, I'll take a look at the calendar, but my guess is it's probably all slated for the same stuff.
Okay.
Because it looks like there's a bit of work in there to do as well.
In the other side?
In the bathroom.
Oh, in the bathroom, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the other side it's similar, but it's not the same, so. I don't have a key, I don't know if it's open. It's not open.
Okay. I gotta get on the road.
But they actually framed that in, so you can see what it should look like over there. Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Okay. I gotta get on the road.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I'll put some notes in, and I'll talk to Chris about getting the jackhammer over here.
Okay.
And I'll figure out what time we can do that at. It's not gonna disrupt everybody, and we'll bang that out.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll update Builder Training.